Hello. So, I have been talking about the genes and gene mutation and Darwinian theory of evolution. And I thought I will start with some of the specific genes that we know and that cause the disease. And so I'm going to take two genes today and see if we can talk about them and then see if they fit into the Darwinian theory as that gene mutation does occur so that the surviving animal is better suited to survive. Now, again, as I said before, there is a spontaneous gene mutation, and we truly don't know why it happens, but it happens 1 in 100 million genes. Remember, there are 3.4 million, 3.4 billion genes. So this occurs, this is a spontaneous, there is no reason for it. It's not for betterment of the species, but it occurs in 1 in 100 million genes per generation. So roughly we are born with 60 genes which our parents did not have, neither the father nor the mother. And so our genetic composition is minimally changed, and our kids' genetic composition would be further changed as each generation has some mutations which are spontaneous. I want to talk about two genes, and it's interesting to note that the one gene that I'm going to talk about is related to the sickle cell. The sickle cell anemia, which is common in African Americans more than any other population, and it is a chronic disease where these people get severe attacks of crisis or pain, and they develop bony infarcts, clots in the lungs, anemia, low-grade fever, lack of energy, and a bunch of other symptoms, and many of them need even narcotics to control it and might even become narcotic dependent. So one of the theories, and again this is one of the theories, why did hemoglobin change to become a sickle hemoglobin? So one of the theories is that in Africa the malaria was rampant. The malaria parasite attack red cells which are rounded, and when they attack them, the parasite infiltrates them, ruptures them. When the rupture occurs of the red cells in the blood, the malaria attack occurs, more parasites are released, and they affect more red cells. So it was interesting to know that the changing the hemoglobin changed the shape of the red cells. So remember, hemoglobin is in the red cells of the blood, and the red cells which are rounded were affected by malaria parasites. Malaria being rampant, somehow over a period of generations, the genetics changed and the hemoglobin changed. So now the cells were sickle cell. The sickle cells are difficult or impossible to be infiltrated or affected by malaria parasite, so the host does not get malaria attack. However, the bad thing happened with this gene mutation is that the sickle cells are not rounded, so they don't pass through tiny capillaries or tiny blood vessels without getting obstructed or clogged. So the sickle cells in hemoglobin cells, or red cells with sickle cell hemoglobin, get caught in the tiny capillaries, and then they rupture. That blockage causes clots, infarcts, pain, and whole sickle cell disease syndrome. Of course, sickle cell has sickle cell carrier and sickle cell disease. But in any way, when the people are affected by the sickle cell disease, they're protected from malaria. That's a good effect. But they are prone to this chronic disease which disables many of them unless they are just a carrier. So the sickle cell development of sickle cell was betterment of the organism or the man or the woman or the human being, but it didn't give them perfect solution to producing longer lasting person which was resistant to malaria because the disease itself caused more problems. So here the wisdom of the body became its own enemy. So this genetic mutation certainly occurred for betterment but did not happen for the betterment. The second gene mutation that I'm going to talk about is the well-known breast cancer gene. Breast cancer gene 1 and 2, BRCA1 and BRCA2. Nowadays, because of the Hollywood actresses and many other people knowing about it, we know that this particular genetic mutation, which occurs in somatic cell, which means it is in every cell in the body, causes increased incidence of breast cancer. Now, Francis Collins, who was in charge of human genetic mapping, when he did this originally, he described a case where after mapping various people affiliated or afflicted with this gene mutation, he found a total of, I think, 35 members. And it was interesting that almost half of these members had this gene mutation. The interesting fact about the breast cancer 1 and 2 genes is that the transmission occurs from father as well as mother. So father may have the BRCA1 and 2 mutation, and he can transmit it to his boys or kids, male boys, or the girls. And it is interesting that the incidence of breast cancer is dramatically increased in females, but not in men. There is some increase of prostate cancer and some increase of lymphoma with this particular gene mutation, but main one is the breast cancer. So the breast cancer 1 and breast cancer 2 genes, when a girl gets it, has a very high incidence of it. And it doesn't occur 100%. That means nor the disease occurs 100% of the time, nor the gene mutation is transferred 100%. So my question is, how is it decided that a particular girl born to the same parents, with one of them being affected with the gene mutation of BRCA1 or 2, gets that gene versus the other one not getting it, because the distribution is 50-50. Again, 50% of offspring. I'm not saying 50% of the girls. How is this decided? Who happens to decide who is going to be unlucky and get the cancer, and who is going to be lucky and not get the cancer? Also, how is this gene mutation helpful for the survival of the host? So if somebody has a breast cancer gene, gets the breast cancer, it spreads, they're likely to have death occurring much earlier than those who do not have it. So this certainly gene mutation appeared not to be beneficial to the host. So why did it occur? Certainly people can talk about spontaneous mutation related to the radiation, smoking, many other conditions, but certainly we don't know what exactly causes the breast cancer gene mutation. Second question is, same gene mutation being received by a male child does not have a high incidence of breast cancer. How can you explain that? So who decides which one of the girls or the boys get it? Number two, if a boy gets it or a male child gets it, is not susceptible or highly likely to have a breast cancer. Again, explanations can come saying, well, the breast cancer cells or the breast cancers are dependent on estrogen, progesterone, and women have that, men don't have that much. So certainly that's why they get more chance of getting breast cancer. But my point is, it doesn't help survival. Why only females become victims of breast cancer while males don't? We don't have an answer. So these two gene mutations, one mutation which helped in some condition but not for the survival, and this second gene mutation, which is breast cancer, the sickle cell with the first one, doesn't help the host to survive longer. We still don't know why did it happen. So I think this is unexplained by the current concept, and I think maybe future we can talk about it, but I would give you a few more examples of genetic mutation and how they don't help the cell help the host to improve the quality. I hope you like this. If you like, subscribe. Have a nice day.